Welcome, guys, to my thoughts of Takeover Vengeance Day. NXT's pay-per-view. 1 week before, I believe it's 1 week before Elimination Chamber. Now, this isn't a real review. I'm going to talk about certain things of this pay-per-view, but really, this isn't a review. I'm just going to say my thoughts of what has NXT done and what this really represents. But I've seen 3 podcasts now. Wrestling Inc., Just Alex, and JD New York. And they've all been very positive. Some of the people in all 3 of them, well, JD and Just Alex, along with Matt Morgan, Raj Giri. I believe Raj Giri was there, or Matt Morgan was saying that this feels like it's NXT. This feels like it's something amazing. This could be NXT coming back, or is back. This is a thing that I thought while I was watching the reviews of these people. And I'm thinking, are you silly? Do you really know what's going on here? Because as much as there's so many people who are very disenfranchised with WWE, and some who have left, but still watch NXT, they have to admit that some of NXT, or all of NXT, is not the same. Not because of the damn pandemic. It's because when they got thrown on USA Network, Vince decided to become more involved in that product. And he has changed it. As I said last year, the minute that it was found that they were going to go on USA, and there was even a hint of Vince being involved, I said the product was going to change. And I was correct. The product is not the same, not just because they're on USA Network and Vince threw them on there because he wanted to combat AEW. Because even though AEW is no match, and I repeat this again, it is no match for WWE in the amount of what it's already produced. They have decades of work. There's no problem with that. But Vince feels that I don't care. If there's another one like WCW, I'm going to run it into the ground, and then I'll probably buy the damn thing just to show I can do it. Because Vince was damn proud to buy WCW and ECW. They were rivals. He destroyed them, or they destroyed themselves, and he bought them out. Flat out, that's what happened. And I think Vince still thinks he can beat AEW, then buy it out once it's built up a bit of a fan base and then bit of a amount of content. That's what I think is going to happen with Vince. But here's the thing, guys. If anyone thinks that NXT is back, they got another thing coming. They have been doing this for years on the main roster. NXT is now reflecting Raw and SmackDown that every single time when they're in trouble, they do something different briefly, and then they say they're going to do something new. And in the end, every single time for now easily nearly more than half a decade, say around 6 or 7 years, every time when they're in trouble, they try to switch it up a little bit. They make something interesting for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then they go back to the same way they were before. Their booking doesn't change. And that's what I see here. This is what WWE was like before the pandemic. They have bad product. Then when the beginning of the year comes, they got to do something to change it up, and they get desperate. So then their pay-per-views become shows of desperation. Now, I'm sure many people, if they see this and they still love NXT, say, what is wrong with you? NXT's always been like this with Takeover. No. When you looked how NXT was structured, when you look at it honestly, the way NXT was structured with Triple H, when they had their shows, when they've already built into them properly with Gargano and Ciampa, when it came to the tag titles, when it came to before all the craziness with the pandemic and before USA, when they were building up the North American Championship, they had built it with an edge going up, and back up. They always made sure with their storylines, when it came to their takeovers, they wouldn't just go 100% to 110% in the very beginning and stayed there. They always built into it. Yes, the first opening match, like when it came to the women, when it came to the Dusty Classic for the women, when it came to who was there, Blackheart and Ember Moon, when it came to Dakota Kai and Rachel, I forgot her name, what is it, Gonzalez. I actually like Rachel Gonzalez. She seems to be a better wrestler than Nia Jax. She does. She seems to be a lot more mindful of what she's doing. Now, I don't know because I haven't been watching the product much, but I have heard about Rachel Gonzalez. As a big woman, she does seem to be a bit better as a wrestler than Nia Jax is, because Nia Jax obviously is incredibly sloppy and has hurt multiple people, and I'll repeat it again, multiple people. But their match was fine. It was 110%. It was like someone was in their car and they wanted to drag race, and instead of going from 0 to 60, they go 0 to 110. Flat out straight. But here's the thing, guys. From the moment that happened through the entire show, they stayed at 110. And that was the problem. They went here. Then it just stayed like this. They tried so hard to make this mean something that they didn't give it any lulls. In a real pay-per-view, I don't care what you think, if this is an old school mentality because I'm an old ass man or not. In a really good structured pay-per-view, a good special of a promotion, you must make sure that the crowds, the fans who are there and at home, have time to recover from each match if it's a special one. The first match up, stay here. Maybe dips a little bit, then goes straight, then goes up, then up, then up. And by the time you hit the main event, you're already at 100, and then you kick it up 110. That's how you make sure that the takeover functions. That is how Triple H used to book it. He made sure that the first match was really good, then it leveled off. Yeah, it went down a little bit with the next match, but then it went up, 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 and then there. This was all the women here. 110. It stayed there. So almost every match, yes, was a great match. Gargano and that, I can't remember his name because I haven't really seen the guys much. Their match was fine. When I saw MSK dealing with what they call the Grizzled Veterans, I believe they're called, and the males version of the Dusty Classic, it made me happy to see that Wentz and Desmond Xavier, of course they're being called Carter and Lee, the actual names, was exceptionally good. And I heard that Alex and JD, they've never seen them, they love them. Now, for anyone who's from Impact Wrestling like me, who's been watching them for more than a couple of years, this is their MO. This is how they always function. For me personally, this is what these guys do. So I'm not surprised. The only issue I ever had with the Rascals when it came to Wentz, when it came to Desmond Xavier, or it came to Trey, when it came to them, it was not about the ring work. I knew they were all talented X-Division guys, great X-Division, and they had enough personality, all of them, they could do something, but Impact never did anything with them when it came to their personalities. They were what I've always called them, New Day Light. But this time they lived in a treehouse and they smoked weed all the time, and they were boring. So it was never about their ring work. All of them were talented, and Desmond Xavier, who is Lee of MSK, is the best of the three. And you watched it and you saw it. And they won the Dusty Classic. Now, I know they're wondering, how did they win it? Because they just came in the company. You know how they won it? By one person. One person I know vouched for them and talked to Triple H, HBK, and Road Dogg. It had to be one person, and that's Joseph Park, the Abyss. He worked with them. Before he left Impact Wrestling, he knew about the Rascals. He didn't leave when the Rascals weren't there. He left when they were there, and he knew how good they were, and he's been watching the product. He knows because he's still talking to the people in Impact Wrestling. Please, you don't think he's talking to them? Of course he is. And they were vouched for. That is the reason why they were given the opportunity, because of how talented they are. That's the reason why they won. Triple H wouldn't just give someone that ability. He did it on purpose. So that's the reason why they won. I'm not surprised. I now know because it's obvious. Now, LA Knight, and I believe I said to one of my subscribers in the comments, I think I said, Hollywood Knight, but it's LA Knight. He is now went from Impact Wrestling in NWA, now he's in NXT. Now, JD doesn't really like him. He thinks he doesn't see any value in him. And I think pretty much the only person that really understand him was Matt Morgan, because at one point he had been around him. So he still knows how Eli Drake work. And I agree. It doesn't really matter if he acts like The Rock and could do promos like The Rock. Can he take something Rock could do and amp it up a bit? He can't. I've always felt that with Eli Drake. Jess Alex, I think he likes him, but he's not 100% sure. I can tell you, Eli Drake will make a motion there. Will he make waves? To a certain extent, yeah. But I'm not happy to see him there, because I know he's not going to get a fair shake. If he goes onto the main roster, he's dead. If he stays in NXT, he'll be alright. At least for a while. And now I also know Taya Valkyrie has now signed with Impact Wrestling. Signed from Impact Wrestling. Now has signed to NXT, which I don't agree with. I think she's going to be very upset soon. Yes, I can understand the reason why she went there, because she's nearing the end of her run as a wrestler and she wants to make her money with a man. But now with the, what did they have now a freeze of increasing position as well as for a raise or a bonus. She's going to learn very quickly that she shouldn't have done it. But I can understand the reason why she did it. Now, I'm not trying to get angry here, because I really do love Taya Valkyrie. I think she's one of the most talented big women, because she's not a small woman. She's 5'11". But when it comes down to it, she's going to be fed to Charlotte in about a year or so. They're not going to keep on the main NXT forever. They're going to throw onto the main roster, and eventually she's going to be fed to a Charlotte Flair. A Taya Valkyrie who made her name, who's one of the more popular wrestlers in the independents, who's gone through Lucha Underground, AAA, Impact Wrestling, and I believe she was even in, I could be wrong, but I think she went to RH at one point. I know she was in Shimmer at one point. This woman is well known, is well loved, and she's going to be fed to Charlotte. With all her accolades, she's going to be fed to Charlotte Flair. And that upsets me. Sorry I'm going on a tangent, but look. When you see the rest of the show, when it came, well, when you see Martinez, when you see Shirai, and when you see Toni Storm is money. And I'm not saying the other women aren't, but Toni Storm is money. And tell me, you guys, tell me below, when Toni Storm did the Mae Young Classic, she was not that thick in her legs. I mean, I'm not saying her ass is huge. Her ass looks the same. But her legs look like they've grown at least 2 more sizes. I'm sure she's been exercising heavily her legs. But damn, woman got some thick legs. She has been exercising a lot. She's a very strong woman, but her legs are now twice their size. What has she been doing? And the match was fine. But it was at 110. Like I said, every match was at 110. It was. And then the main reason I looked at Takeover Vengeance Day, I wanted to see what's going to go with Finn Balor and Pete Dunne. I've heard more than a few times Pete Dunne is one of the best catch-up-can wrestlers there is. And then Finn Balor, the Prince, they've always said that he and this guy should go at each other because these two would tear it up. And did they? Yeah. But they were already near 110, or they were at 110 from the get-go of the first match. So when it came to this last match, I'm sure the fans were tired, exhausted. Even though the show wasn't very long, it's not the point. The point is, from the first match, they already at 110, and they never dipped, and they never went any higher. They were just straight. So that match didn't really mean a lot. Finn won, but it didn't really mean much. Not just for probably storyline, but it didn't really mean much. And I know someone's going to say, well, you don't understand what's going on, especially with Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era. Undisputed Era looks like it's going to be ending and Adam Cole is going to be on his own again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter about what's going to go onward unless you see it within the next 3 months. And I'm making this clear to anyone who says you don't understand NXT. You even said you don't watch the damn product. You haven't watched in 2.5, near 3 years. I said, yeah, that's right. Because I could tell something was wrong. Because every time when one of the best wrestlers was on NXT, eventually they got called up to the main roster and they got destroyed. They got destroyed except for the few that Vince loved. The rest just got annihilated. So why would you care after a while with a product where every single damn time you get someone really great in NXT, reach a certain point, they stay there for a little while, and then they're taken away, and instead of kept where they were with their gimmick, with their music, with their ring style, with their character, going with their gimmick of maybe being a best MMA fighter who just became a wrestler, their best for being entertaining like Velveteen Dream, or maybe like a Kevin Owens, or how Sami Zayn was, or hell, what happened with Keith Lee? He's been on the roster how many months? He's dead on the roster. They all had certain gimmicks, and every single time their gimmicks were destroyed except for the ones that were special to Vince, like Roman Reigns, like pretty much Charlotte Flair. Those are the only two that had gimmicks that managed to stick around to a certain extent. They kept them almost exactly as they were from NXT. They improved on them a bit, and they kept them there until they have to flip them because they didn't get anywhere, like a Roman Reigns when he stayed a face for so long and people hated him. He got flipped to a heel, now people love him. This means nothing, this pay-per-view, without 3 months of proper booking on the show. So I say this to anyone who loves NXT. You can love that pay-per-view. Vengeance Day is a fine pay-per-view. But if you actually think NXT is turning a corner when the next episode comes around, you got another thing coming. Wait 3 months to see if anything changes. Because this is how you keep yourself from being disappointed. If you're so enthusiastic thinking everything's perfect now, or is about to turn a corner, it's foolish. I say this to anyone who still loves NXT or who's been disenfranchised in NXT, see this pay-per-view and then they say, oh, now I'm really interested. NXT's changed back to the way it was. No, it hasn't. They're desperate. That show was desperation. They did not book it right. It was 110% from the get-go and it never changed. And many people say that's great. Wrong. There must be some time to make it mean something. If every match was exactly the same, such high octane, there was nothing different about them, what do you get? Normal. Nothing. And all the work they did was for nothing. But this is just me. Peace.